Imagine you couldn't walk. Imagine you had trouble even crawling. Now imagine you lived in one of the poorest countries in the world. Where would you go for help?
I think that we sit back in our easy chairs in the States and we don't really have a great conception of what illness is in the third world country. You can see the pictures on the TV and you can feel bad and they can show you sad faces and all of those things, but there's no comparison to actually knowing that you could be a part of or to see an actual end to the means. POF to me meant an end to the means.
War, accidents, and birth defects continue to take a terrible toll on the poorest populations on Earth.
To take an idea that we could help the disabled and originally the amputees in Vietnam and expand that to a very large group of people. We're talking about more than 14,000 people that have been helped over the period of not quite 20 years now that the foundation has been working in Vietnam.
One organization of dedicated doctors, contributors, organizers, and volunteers has made it their mission to help the developing world walk again.
People just do not have access to any kind of higher level tertiary care, and so this is a program that provides that.
I look at POF, it's not an abstract organization, it's a group of people who are driven by their hearts, by their desires to be part of productive, positive change.
The opportunity to do more than just a clubfoot project or establish rehabilitation facilities or therapy type situations, it's much more far-reaching than that.
The development of a prosthetic foot that is entirely designed and made in Vietnam, other componentry, knee joints, pylons, things that people don't necessarily think about as being essential, but being extremely essential to us being able to provide the care. And being able to make all of those things in Vietnam and have them made by Vietnamese, it gets at this core idea of what POF is about, which is sustainability. We want to create solutions that are sustainable. We're trying to affect long-lasting change. We're trying to educate people in Vietnam in a way so that they can take care of their own people.
The enormity of the people who have responded to this is beyond amazing. I think the closest they came was 15 kilometers and the farthest was 225.
It always starts on a Monday morning and we go at 8 o'clock to the Son La Provincial Hospital.
No complaints, they'll sit and wait all day long. You have to evaluate.
The level of complexity kind of went sort of beyond what we ever see anymore. What we were seeing was either a residual of congenital deformity or injuries or developmental things that would have been sort of jumped on at the onset for us, and they'd been allowed to kind of trickle on for lack of access or finances or whatever for years or even a lifetime.
This year I did do a 20-year-old woman with a congenital deformity of her foot, very short leg, not able to walk on the foot.
In a sense, the only realistic option for her to really get her mobile and walking on her feet was to do an amputation and fit her with a prosthetic leg, which would be a very, very hard sell in our world. She signed right up for it.
So much more happens when we give someone an artificial limb. It's certainly the restored mobility, but what that really means is the ability for the individual to go back and be productive, be that working to sustain themselves or the family, or going to school if it's a child.
All the difference in the world for that child's life as far as their future. I mean, they'll be able to work, they'll be able to probably get married, which is maybe not going to happen if they have this deformity like some of the older patients we're seeing.
We found during the years of doing our amputation-related work here that a recurring problem is that we kept seeing neglected clubfoot patients. And I kept saying, why are we seeing all of these 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 20-year-olds with neglected club feet?
They just don't seem to have an orthopedic surgeon kind of in place that either has the time or inclination to sort of take on these surgeries.
And again, at home, a clubfoot is a condition that we can treat usually very successfully with conservative techniques of casting
At the same time, through the PF, we've instituted the Ponseti Clubfoot program that's spreading out, and I think that's the ideal thing to teach to the local communities, where it doesn't require a pediatric orthopedic surgeon to be doing this. You can teach other physicians, you can even teach non-physician healthcare practitioners the technique and the protocol, and they can implement it pretty darn well.
If we're not here, it does not get done, so here is another 5-year-old who's now a 15-year-old, now a 20-year-old, doesn't have their feet fixed. And let me tell you, fixing a 20-year-old's clubfoot, this is not easy.
Some of the surgeries that Dr. Dales and Dr. Veith perform are not surgeries that would be done here otherwise. They're very, very intricate and require a high degree of specialty that they both have.
These are people who are having major operations that I know for a fact really hurt.
But the people they're just strong and stout, and children climb up on the operating table and they're going to have their surgery, and the family will take care of them in the recovery room. These children the next day are not whimpering or crying.
I don't know how much medication they really get after surgery here, but they're all just sitting there and they've got smiles on their faces for you when you walk in the room, and the families are incredibly gracious.
Now, of course, I'll have to come back and fix the other side.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
From all of these efforts comes hope and inspiration, even to the most remote of places.
A young man who's having his second clubfoot repaired is now wanting to go on to be a physician. And if anyone can inspire someone to do something like that and give of themselves out of what they've had done to themselves, I think that's amazing. I think that if that's what his disability created, was hope and inspiration for himself, that all he's going to do is lend that to the next person on. And if Dr. Dales and Dr. Veith only have one thing to their testament, they know that by what they did inspired someone to do what they do and give back. And it creates a circle. That's amazing.
We come and do this great surgery, but what's even more exciting and thrilling to me is to treat these babies, and by the time they're walking, they have wonderful feet. It's definitely snowballed into something really exciting.
That's a big chance for the local people in the province to change their life, to get better work, and they will get better life in the future by the great operation of the doctors, of the team coming from the US.
The medical intervention leads to so much more, and it's this true difference that we're able to make in the lives of these individuals. We look at ourselves as coaches, where the visiting surgeons are working side by side with their Vietnamese counterparts, and they're teaching hands-on. And that's how we transfer skills, that's how we transfer technologies.
Really, we are becoming one giant country anymore. We're not just the United States. We go into every country, and that's what it should be. We should all be helping each other, and we should all be holding hands around the world.
The Prosthetics Outreach Foundation, helping people in the developing world walk again.